There's a skill that most people never develop, not because it's complicated, not because it requires years of training, but because most people are too busy thinking about what they're going to say next to actually pay attention to what's happening right in front of them. The ability to read people. Not in a manipulative way, not in a cold, calculating way, but in the way that the most emotionally intelligent people in any room do it. Quietly, accurately, and without ever making it obvious. Today, we're going to talk about 8 psychological tricks that will change the way you see people. Not tomorrow. Starting with the next conversation you have. Trick number 1. Watch what they do with their feet. Most people know that body language matters, but most people focus on the wrong part of the body. The face is the most practiced, most controlled, most performative part of a person. People have spent their entire lives learning to manage their facial expressions, to smile when they're uncomfortable, to look interested when they're bored, to appear confident when they're terrified. But the feet? Nobody practices their feet. Psychological research consistently shows that the lower body, particularly the feet, is the most honest part of a person's physical expression. Feet point toward what we're interested in and away from what we want to escape. If someone's feet are pointed toward the door during a conversation, part of them is already leaving. If their feet are pointed directly at you, their interest is genuine. Next time you're in a conversation, look down just once. The feet will tell you what the face is hiding. Trick number 2. Notice how they treat people who can do nothing for them. This one isn't subtle, but it's remarkably accurate. How someone treats a waiter, a cleaner, a parking attendant, anyone who holds no social power in a given moment, tells you almost everything you need to know about their actual character. People perform kindness for those who can benefit them. But real kindness, the automatic, unrehearsed kind, only shows up when there's nothing to gain. Watch carefully. It takes about 30 seconds to see it, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Trick number 3. Pay attention to what they brag about. Here's something psychologists have observed for decades. People tend to be most insecure about the things they boast about most loudly. The person who constantly mentions their salary is likely deeply anxious about financial worth. The person who can't stop referencing their connections and who they know is often terrified of being seen as ordinary. The person who talks endlessly about how busy they are is frequently struggling with a sense of purposelessness. This isn't a rule without exceptions, but it's a remarkably reliable pattern. What someone advertises about themselves is often a map of their deepest insecurities. Pay attention to what gets repeated, what gets volunteered without being asked, what someone needs you to know about them. That's the thing they're least sure about themselves. Trick number 4. Watch how they handle being wrong. Nothing reveals character faster than a mistake. Not the big dramatic mistakes, the small everyday ones. Someone gives wrong directions and then gets corrected. Someone misremembers a fact in conversation. Someone makes a minor error at work. What happens next tells you everything. Do they acknowledge it cleanly and move on? Do they deflect, minimize, or blame something external? Do they over-apologize in a way that makes the other person responsible for managing their discomfort? Do they get quietly defensive and change the subject? The relationship a person has with being wrong is the relationship they have with their own ego. And that relationship affects every dynamic they're part of. Personal, professional, intimate. Watch for it. It comes up more often than you think. Trick number 5. Listen for the stories they tell repeatedly. Everyone has a small set of stories they return to again and again. The story about the difficult boss, the friendship that ended badly, the time they were treated unfairly, the moment that changed everything. These repeated stories are not just memories. They're identity statements. They're the narratives a person has decided define them, consciously or not. Pay attention to the role they always play in their own stories. Are they always the victim? Always the hero? Always the one who saw it coming but nobody listened? Always the one who walked away first? The pattern across their stories is the pattern in their life. And once you can see the pattern, you can understand almost everything about how they'll behave in your relationship with them. Trick number 6. Notice how they respond to other people's good news. This one is quiet, easy to miss, but deeply revealing. When someone you know gets good news, a promotion, a new relationship, an exciting opportunity, watch the people around them in the first 3 seconds, before they have time to compose a socially appropriate response. Genuine happiness for other people is actually quite rare. Most people experience a complex mixture of emotions when someone close to them succeeds, including, if they're honest, a small flicker of something that isn't pure joy. The people who can move through that flicker quickly, who can genuinely celebrate someone else's win without it costing them, those people have a security inside themselves that is worth knowing. The ones who can't, that insecurity will eventually show up in your relationship with them too. Trick number 7. Watch what they do in the first 5 minutes. First impressions are not just about what we notice. They're about what the other person reveals before they fully settle into performance mode. The first 5 minutes of meeting someone, or the first 5 minutes of an unexpected encounter with someone you already know, is when their guard is lowest, before they've calibrated to the room, before they've decided which version of themselves to present. Are they scanning the room or present with you? Are they name-dropping in the first breath or asking questions? Are they comfortable with a moment of silence or rushing to fill it? That unguarded window is small, but what you see through it is real. Trick number 8. Pay attention to what they don't say. The most important information in any conversation is often what's absent, the question that doesn't get asked, the detail that never gets mentioned, the topic that gets changed every time it comes up, the person who is conspicuously never spoken about. Silences in conversation are not neutral. They are deliberate, consciously or not, and they point directly at the things that carry the most emotional weight. When someone talks freely about everything except one thing, that one thing is usually the key to understanding them.